I'm Bobby Grizik, and welcome to this book review. This particular review is going to focus on Frank Herbert's Dune novel, copyright 1965. Now, in order for me to cover this book and the audiobook as well, as I intend to do in all of my videos, being that that's how I read the books, is via the audio CDs, I have to state how I was introduced to Dune. Back in 1984, the movie was out. I was intrigued by the previews I had seen, and I hadn't really heard anything about it from people at that time. And about a year later, it was available on VHS, and around the fall of 1985, my parents had rented it actually for me, and I watched it and couldn't get enough of the film. I was so intrigued by the way the characters were played, all of this whispering that goes on, which is the characters thinking inside their minds. It's translated as these whispers that go on in the scenes, which I think was really brilliant as far as expressing all of these really intricate plots that are going on all at once. So the film, I actually give a great review, and I love the special effects. The sets are phenomenal, the costumes, the acting. Lynch's style of directing toward the acting is perfect for Dune, and is really amazing. So, with that said, I'm going to move on to the actual novel and do a review of the novel itself. Dune focuses on the character of Paul Atreides, a young adult who is heir to the throne of Caladan, where his family, the Atreides, reside. Paul is the son of a duke and his concubine, Jessica. And Jessica is a member of the sisterhood, the Bene Gesserit. And they had a lavish generations of breeding program in order to create this super person, this Kwisatz Haderach it's called, this being that could go where they cannot see, and Jessica, Paul's mother, betrays her sisterhood and concedes to give birth to a son for her duke, and Paul is born, upsetting this breeding program that had been going on for thousands of years. So, that being the case, Paul's born actually a generation too early. He was supposed to be the Messiah a generation after he was actually born. But being that he was born when he fulfilled the Messiah role, fell into that role once he arrived on the planet Dune, otherwise called Arrakis, and the people of the planet are aware of this legend of this Messiah from their ancient days, and Paul fits that picture pretty well. And he does everything right, and for the most part, in their eyes. And once he's among them and has fully become a Fremen, so to speak, which is the name of the people. They call themselves Fremen, desert people. Once he's in with them, the story really kind of unfolds even more from there. Of course, one of the keys to Dune is the spice melange. The spice can be found on only one planet in the entire universe, the planet Dune, Arrakis. And the spice is a precious, precious substance because it is something that everyone is truly reliant on biologically, and you find out why in some of the prequels that Frank Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson wrote. But also, it is a primary component for the Spacing Guild to travel. They need to take in massive amounts of spice. The spice, though, is not easy to come by for the most part, despite the fact that it is highly abundant on Dune, on Arrakis. You have the sandworms to deal with, and the sandworms, in essence, guard the spice. Sort of dragon guarding a medieval treasure is a common analogy that's been used. It's an epic story. It's really amazing what Frank Herbert did with Dune, and ultimately Paul he not only becomes this Messiah, he goes on to an even greater pinnacle at the end of the book itself. And politically ties himself to the Emperor of the known universe and effectively removing the Emperor and putting himself in place. But it's really an amazing book. The landscapes that Frank Herbert paints with words are brilliant. You can vividly see everything, and I'm just in awe of how amazing Dune is. So I highly recommend the novel Dune. Now, moving on to the audio CD presentation of Dune.